immigration is controlled, in my opinion, by two things. It's controlled by politics and economics. And if you have a bad economy, and we all know our economy is not strong right now, if you have a slow economy, then you don't have amnesty laws. And if the politics are bad, you have, an anti-immigrant sentiment out there. The war effort may collaterally have some anti-immigration repercussions. Ironic, we're a nation of immigrants, but we're becoming one of the tightest restrictionist immigrant countries in the world now.
I think we're all aware that after September 11th, that there have been a number of new policies that have been undertaken by the federal government in the United States in the interest of national security.
Think about it. I mean, I'm here since 8 years. I think this is my town. I know, I feel good here. Because 8 years is not, I think it's not that long enough to say that, but I'm not saying I forgot Pakistan or Karachi. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think I observe things. This is me, I guess. The way I talk, the way I live, the way I walk, I go out meet my friends. I have a life here. So I think I'm from here now. Whenever they ask me, where are you from? Chicago. So I feel good.
Oh yes, time so serious, cantankerous and dangerous. 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 Oh yes, time so serious, cantankerous and dangerous. Time so serious, cantankerous and dangerous.
On September 11, 2002, the United States began implementation of what we call NSEERS, National Security Entry and Exit Registration System. The purpose of this registration is to promote several important national security objectives. All of the countries that have been identified so far are places where Al-Qaeda or other terrorist organizations have been active.
I'm Carol Hallstrom, the Community Relations Officer now with the Department of Homeland Security, into which the Immigration Services has recently moved.
I think that the INS being subsumed under the Homeland Security Department is putting the whole concept of immigration under the concept of security, and therefore an attempt to make the people of the United States even more fearful of immigrants.
My two child is handicapped. My children name is Fawad Tariq and my daughter is named Sidra Tariq. This is problem, retina problem, both child. And this is Amreen Tariq, he is okay. In America, doctors say day by day technology good is here, and between treatment, ERG and VP test follow up. But in Pakistan, no ERG VP test. And also second, he is going to school. But in Pakistan, no future for my child.
A little bit later on in the fall, the Attorney General announced that in addition to registration at the port of entry, that he was going to begin what was called a special call-in registration. Males of certain countries who are already in the United States, that they were going to be required to come to an immigration office, and that they're going to have their fingerprints taken, their photographs taken, and ask some questions about their family, about their country, basically trying again to determine whether or not you are the person who you say you are.
Suppose there are people who did not register. Are you guys going to go out and hunt for them?
I heard that only the men have to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so are the people over there going to ask something, any questions about the women that are with me?
As you stated, the reason for this registration is so that, you want to keep track of people who are in, and this is for terrorist purposes and stuff like that. But do you think so? Any terrorist in their right mind would come and register with you?
After 9/11, when it comes to the people who are non-immigrant and INS issued a notice for them to register, we were the first one to bring this issue on the radio before the deadline for Pakistanis and other people started.
We had at first a group of 5 countries. I'm going to get some help. Libya, the Sudan, Syria, Iran, and Iraq. We then had a second group of countries who were called in for this special registration, a group of 13 countries, Bahrain, Afghanistan, Eritrea, and a number of others. The registration period for those countries is closed.
Of course, America is at war, and they would like to protect their citizens and their country and their cities. I can understand why this registration procedure starts, why they want it. There's nothing wrong with the registration. Each country has a different law. You know, if you go in European countries, you'll find the same thing. You have to register in most of the European countries, but it should be for everybody. It's not just for the Muslim countries.
We are now in the registration period for what we refer to as Group 3, which is Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. For those of you who are from Pakistan or perhaps Saudi Arabia, perhaps the most critical thing we can tell you tonight is that this Friday, March 21st, is the last day for registration.
They were not ready. People were not ready. People were having a peaceful life in this country. They have left their homes, they have their property, their wealth back home in some cases, and had opted for United States of America. That they know that this is a country of immigrants. If they are not legal now, there are always amnesty programs going on, and they will be legalized later. I mean, I know that it is not legal to live without a status, but then it has happened before in this country.
Now, with regard to the other problem, you know, the special registration, you're required to register. I don't know, did Rena give you my packet that I wrote about the information about what happens? Do you understand what's going to happen tomorrow?
No.
Okay. Tomorrow when you go in, they're going to ask certain questions. They're going to ask you why you're here.
Okay.
They're going to ask you how long are you staying.
Okay.
They're going to ask you for bank account information.
Okay.
They're going to ask you if you have a credit card.
Okay.
They're going to fingerprint you. They're going to take your picture, and then a match is going to happen. They're going to get your picture when you got the bright orange suit on when you were in jail. That picture is going to come up. The first time Tariq was arrested, he was arrested as part of this absconder awareness program. It's a sting operation where the INS is seeking after individuals who have final orders of deportation and never left. Well, Tariq had a final order of deportation, and he never left because he never knew he was deported. The only way you can be deported is by an immigration judge normally, or usually, and that involves getting a court notice. You get a notice to come to court, you go to court, you apply for any relief that you're eligible for. If your relief is denied or not eligible for anything, the judge will deport you. Well, Tariq filed for a benefit years ago. He tells me it was by an attorney. I don't really know who filed his, whatever he filed was denied by the INS. Page 1 apparently was the denial letter, page 2 was the notice to come to court. Well, he never got either one of those. So he had been ordered deported years before. We filed a motion to remove the deportation order, and there was a long legal struggle, and the judge sided with Tariq, and they removed the deportation order against him. While he was out on bond, Ashcroft initiated another sting operation. This one was called Operation Jewelry Box. It was a joint FBI INS operation, JTTF, Joint Terrorism Task Force operation, where I guess a couple people had taken photographs of the Twin Towers who were from Pakistan, Pakistani nationals. And They asked them where they had worked, and these individuals, I guess, said they had worked for some jewelry store or jewelry mall. Boom, Operation Intrigue Jewelers, Operation Jewelry Box. Thousands of immigrants were rounded up. None of them had any terrorist links. They were all placed in deportation proceedings if they were out of status or even had cases pending. Well, Tariq was at the mall the day that Operation Jewelry Box was in its full bloom, and federal agents arrested him again. They asked him who he was, what his status was, and when he told them that he was currently in deportation proceedings, already out on bond, boom, they took him in again. They canceled his bond, re-arrested him, and we had to go back into court, and the judge set another bond. And she was probably scratching her head too, wondering why is he back again. But that's what happened, and that's why he was arrested twice.
April 15, 1995. When I got here, I came with our Prime Minister, Benazir Bhutto. And we have to perform a ballet show in front of Mr. Clinton and Hillary Clinton. So we perform a ballet show, and they were stunned how we perform. I see future in America. That's all. And I'm the only one who support my family. And that's it. I have a clean record. I didn't do anything wrong. I used to pay my bills. I was paying tax and all that stuff. This guy is dancing in this kind of Kathak portion. So look at that. This is also belongs to, see, dance is my inspiration. Dance is me. So look at that. It's all Kathak, especially this piece of this one. See how he's moving his hand? That's totally Kathak. That's what I like about it. I was talking to one of the person in the prison. He was the head of security guards. So he was too nice to me. He was asking me all my story and everything. And he's like, oh, I totally understand your feelings and all that stuff. But still, you stay illegal here. That is your crime.
Basically, if you're on the list of, I believe, the infamous 26 countries, basically they're Muslim countries, predominantly Muslim countries. They're all males and all 16 years of age who entered the United States legally. So if you came in with a visa and you didn't violate the law, you came in here legally, not illegally. Those who came in illegally don't have to register. So if you broke the law, you don't have to turn yourself in and be quote-unquote monitored by our government. But if you came in here legally, in other words, the INS, the State Department did a background check on you, issued you a visa to come here temporarily, you have to come in for registration. Logic would dictate that, women could be terrorists, people under 16 could be terrorists. You don't have to be Muslim. You can just, think about Timothy McVeigh or Ted Kaczynski. It's just, if you're trying to curtail national security, you wouldn't put necessarily males over the age of 16 who are Muslim on the list. You could think of many other groups. So for those people that have been waiting for years and years to obtain a green card, the rug has been pulled under them, because even though they're currently out of status, they're here legally, because you can't get a green card in the United States even if you're out of status if you leave. Because once the wheels of the plane take off, you could be subject to a 3 and 10-year bar, as you probably have read about already. So, you could say, well, special registration is here, I'm out of status, my green card is pending, I'm going to follow the law and I'm going to leave. Well, if you leave, like I said, the minute that you leave, you're subject to a 10-year bar. So you can't come back and get a green card. But if you stay, you have to register, because if you don't register, then you're barred from any discretionary form of relief of getting the green card. So you're caught in this terrible catch-22.
So when I go to tomorrow INS registration, so what I can think?
Well, you have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. With regard to the special registration, I will plead to them if they decide that you're out of status.
Yeah.
I will plead to them not to detain you, but they could arrest you and place handcuffs on you and take you to the jail. If they decide that you're out of status, they will give you to the INS police. It's investigations. Okay, or DHS.
So he put in a, he take arrest me.
Yes, they will arrest you if they refer the case to investigations. They could arrest you.
So you not help me.
I am going to help you. I'm going to fight and tell them that it's wrong that you have two children that are disabled.
This is not my fault.
This special registration worksheet is pretty self-explanatory. It's basically just your information, your name, birthday, where you're living now, what you're doing in the United States now, what kind of relatives you have here, a description. It's very similar, except the description, to any credit card application you'd make. You know, that's what I always, it's nothing extraordinary. It's just very simple information that we can register you and put you in the system.
We've always had registration. People have gone in and registered when they've come into the country. So what's different this time? What's the problem? This is a re-registration. This is the rounding up of people based on their ethnic backgrounds. This is not just a normal run-of-the-mill INS registration. People are being called in to be registered because they supposedly fit the profile of the people involved in 9/11. That harkens me back to the days of internment. We don't call it internment anymore. We call it special registration. We call it detaining.
You know how you see in the movies, the new person came in a barrack, in a jail thing, and there was a couple of, how you call the barrack or the cells? The cells. There was a couple of areas, like part. I would say part, like A, B, C, D. I was in a part A, and there was a B, C, D. So I was walking down with my towel and my bed sheet and all that stuff, with the little toothbrush, little toothpaste, and like, man, and they started screaming, like, have you seen in a movie, like, hey, what's up, man, hey, they start waving at me. I'm like, man, I think I did something wrong. There was a bunch of Mexican guys, they were keep staring at me, and I'm like, whatever. They come up to me, they're like, are you Pakistani? I'm like, man, they know about Pakistan. I'm like, yes. Go to this guy, maybe he's from Pakistan. He just got in last week. I went to the second cell. I tried to wake him up, but he was sleeping. And I can tell he's from Pakistan or India, but I couldn't see his face. I tried to talk to him 3 times, and third time he wake up, he's like, Assalamu alaikum. Oh, I'm like, thank God he's Muslim too. He came out with his cell, we sitting in the table, and he started telling me about his story. And that was the first guy I met in a prison, in a detention center. And then very next day, I see 2 more people from Pakistan, and they are Muslim too. They were Muslim too. Like finally, we were 11 people. We were praying in a prison. You cannot see anything. No air, no sunlight, no nothing. So it's hard to decide which is north side, east side, west side. So we were praying, just let it to the God. He's gonna decide it. So there was a guy who was visiting cop. I don't know what he was doing over there. So he came up, he knocked the door, he just came in, he's like, you guys praying? We say, yeah. He's like, you guys supposed to face northeast. This is not northeast. You have to go do that way. And I was surprised he knows that. So it means a lot of people know about Islam. And I'm surprised. That was a good thing he told us. God bless him.
When people came to this country from all these kingdoms and all these dictatorships, and they came here for the hope that they will live free life, what they heard, what they read about America. They came here to have peace and have freedom and have economical empowerment, political empowerment, and they can, you know, live in the free world. But all these dreams are shattered now.
What about, okay, I want to go, you don't go?
If you don't go, then are you going to be here after March 21st? Then you violate the law.
That is problem.
Then it is your fault.
That is a problem too much.
Yeah, it's a problem.
When I go to, that is risk.
You know, now, if you don't go, it can be a crime. You have a letter from your attorney, me, that says you filed for an extension.
Yeah.
You have an affidavit that says, when I received my original duplicate copy, me and my spouse and my children's visa meanwhile expired. I am requesting an extension because my son and one of my daughter's visions of the eyes is very poor, blind, and they are undergoing treatment at the University of Chicago and Cook County. You're giving a valid reason, the same reason as you gave when you were in Pakistan. Nothing has changed. You're not working. You're not, in my opinion, doing anything but doing what you said you were going to do when you came here, to come here. So they should have no problem. But I have to prepare you for every situation. And every situation may mean that they're going to lock you up tomorrow. But what I'm going to try to do is convince them that it's wrong to do that. You know, there's something called discretion. That means they don't have to do that.
When I go with my son, so if he me arrest, so what about my son? How can go to?
Well, what I'm going to do is if they do arrest you, like I said, I'm going to go talk to another person, INS police. Okay, see if they can get you out. They're the ones that make the decision.
So I go with my son, yeah, I go alone.
It's up to you.
No, you.
I think that if they come with, then there is no doubt in their mind that your children are blind.
So I go with my son.
If you tell them that they're blind, then you're leaving it to their imagination.
Okay, so I go with my son.
And then they may say to me, how do we know you're telling the truth?
Yeah.
What if every person comes in for special registration says that their children are blind?
So I go with my son. That is better.
I think so.
When you come in to register, you will go, as one of the sheets I handed out, to 230 South Dearborn Street. That's the corner of Dearborn and Jackson downtown. And you will go to the INS waiting room on the second floor. And you will be asked to show your passport and your I-94. That will be collected.
The first thing she asked was a passport. And I gave her my passport and she said, you know, you've been out of status for the last 2 years. And I told her, yes, I am. So she goes like, okay, well, sit while we call your name. And then you got to tell them everything. Like, they ask you, like, from A to Z what you are and what you're about. But since you're out of status, the investigation people is gonna take over you from here. I've never, ever in my life got handcuffed before. Never. You know, but they tell you that they don't want to do it with formalities. They have to do this because of the security. It's not that, and then they let you know that they're not thinking you as a criminal. They're just, you know, they have to do it because they, you know, because of the government. So they handcuffed me, my brother, and some people who were there, even though there was an old aged person who couldn't walk. So they handcuffed him with me, so I walked slowly ahead of him. Then they took us from the back room, so you wouldn't go in front of people that you know that they'll like laugh at you or insult you or something. But they take you from like a down part of basement or something. There was a van, and then this guy was in the van. We sat there, and we got to Jackson Boulevard from the Dearborn. You know, there's two buildings, Dearborn. They took us to Jackson Boulevard. Then what they did, they put me in a cell with some other people. I got there at 10:30 in the cell because I got to the registration at 7:30 in the morning. So they put me in the cell at 10:30, and I got out of there at 4:30. Nobody got out before, like, you know, 5 or 4. So when I got out, I went over there. This guy who was doing the investigation officer, who was doing my interview, so he say, well, that's your lucky day because we're going to let you go without a bond.
You know, it's pretty clear cut. You came here on day 1. On day 2, your visa expired. On day 3, you filed for a job-based or a family-based benefit. The problem is that between day 2 and day 3, you were not allowed to be here. So, you know, before 9/11, the INS would allow you to stay here. That wasn't a hard and fast rule, but it was, you know, the vast majority of cases. The INS would allow you to stay here from point 2 and 3, give you the benefit of the doubt. The vast majority of people that have these technical violations, they're somewhere between step 2 and step 3. They have to go in and basically turn themselves in to the INS and say, here I am, this is my status, I'm out of status. And the INS is confronted with a situation where they know that the alien is sitting right there in their office, out of status. So they lock them up, they detain them. That's the whole process. You know, what's happening with special registration is that the law says one thing, but in reality something else is happening. They're not, quote unquote, you know, simply just registering you and letting you go.
The publicity coming out was, don't worry, you just need to register. But the reality that hit in Los Angeles was that over 1,000 Iranians were detained without their families knowing where they were because of minor visa violations.
They just went crazy. They had people that were the interviews set for green cards weeks away, and they were detained. They ran out of handcuffs. Whenever you have a war going on, whenever you have this moral panic going on, you have wide sweeping immigration laws. We had it with the Chinese Exclusion Act, we had it with the Japanese internment camps, we had it, you know, you name it, during times of quote unquote national unrest, you have finger pointing, and by and large it's always immigrants. We're always blaming the immigrants. The question is why? I don't know why immigrants are, you know, the social ills of every problem, you know, can be blamed for every problem that we have, including terrorism. I think everyone's learned the lesson from what happened in Los Angeles. I don't think we've seen anything as severe as what took place there. However, whether you lock the people up or put them on the fast track to deportation, it's really the same result.
We are certainly aware that this is a controversial initiative begun by the Department of Justice back in the fall. And it has provoked a lot of fear, some anxiety, and we understand that.
It is not a fear, it's a fact. I mean, fear, you can call it fear when nothing happened. It has already happened. People have suffered. People are still suffering.
No registration! No detainment! No registration! No detainment! No registration!
They wanted to involve the ethnic groups in that protest, not just the mainstream Americans. And it was very successful. There were a lot of Arabs, there were a lot of Pakistanis and Indians and Sikhs and Afghans and Iranians. So it was a multicultural crowd.
The reason that we had a demonstration on February 15th on Devon Avenue is we wanted to combine the issues of no war in Iraq and also no discrimination against immigrants. Devon Avenue is predominantly Pakistani Indian. There's great fear in the neighborhood about the registration, and we wanted to spotlight that neighborhood so that we could say to the INS, we're watching.
I just don't know what was happening. I was at school and I think my dad would get it on the registration or not.
क्या होगा? ये कुछ नहीं. और बच्चे थे जब वो स्कूल से वापस आए उस वक्त
She said that she didn't know. It was like she just sent her husband away, that he has gone from their life, and if they don't let him come back, what's going to happen? The kids, when they come from school, they started crying and asking her why their dad was not home, and she said every second, every minute of that experience was painful. Divan is not that crowded like before. I mean, there are less happy faces there than before. People are not in that joyous mood like they were before.
Mostly lower middle class people and poor class people live here, and who are working daily on daily wages, and most of them their status was either they were on visit visa and their visa expired, or they were students. So I would say about 50 to 60% people in Chicago, not metropolitan, but Chicago City, they just either they left the country, they went to Canada, or they went back to Pakistan, or they are hiding. So the businesses are affected badly. People are thinking that there will be raids from the INS.
I lost almost 60% business due to the registration by the INS. And most of my people are gone to Canada or Pakistan. It's not I cannot say it's a good policy or not policy, but actually it's hurting American economy too. People are not buying homes. They are not in the business. They are not giving taxes. So naturally the city of Chicago is losing sale tax. The American government is losing federal taxes. So it's a good effect.
Eid is a holiday for Muslims, like Christmas for Christians. A night before Eid, I never saw in the last 17 years of my life in Chicago, I never saw the clothing stores and the boutiques so empty ever. A lot of my friends I knew since 5 or 10 years or 15 years, they're gone.
I was good in a memory. When I was in a jail, I lost my memory. I don't remember things. I was too good on this. Like names, if you tell me your name, like that's my name, and I can see you like after 8, 9 years, I can say that's your name. I meet you that place and blah, blah, blah. But now, I don't know. Because of tension, I have a gray hair. I never had a gray hair. I'm just 30 years old. I have a gray hair right here. All my beard is gray hair now. You know, it's just tension. I mean, you guys don't know what kind of tension we have over there. I mean, we want to laugh. We want to talk something else, but like we start talking to each other, hey, about your life and everything. And yeah, we used to play cricket. We used to play this. I used to do that business. But what is the end? Man, when we are going to get out of the jail? There's a question mark. Always, we don't know. So that's why. That's why I'm trying to think like, man, why did it happen to me?
Your current status is you're in deportation or removal proceedings. Our government is trying to deport you.
They came up like 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning. And they're trying to bang the door like real hard. And I was the one who opened the door for them. And they asked me, do you know, open the door, we are FBI and police. And I opened the door for them, and they have passport of mine, copy of my passport. They said, do you know this guy? And I said, yeah, this is me. And they said, as soon as I say, this is me, they handcuff me right away. They pull me on the wall, and they handcuff me. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they go like, you have arrest warrant. You didn't show it on the court. So you have to go with us. We have to deport you. There was a little room like this. There was no furniture, nothing. And they started asking me like, I would say stupid questions. Do you go to mask? I'm like, yeah, I go to mask. And they're like, do you see any suspicious activity? I'm like, no, because when we go to mask, we pray. Have you been to Afghanistan? I'm like, no. He's like, why? You from Pakistan and you didn't go to Afghanistan? They give me a jumpsuit. And I have to take my all, like whatever I was wearing, like watch and like chain, whatever I had. I have to take it off. I have to give it to them, put it in a box. They took me from there to Memphis, Wisconsin. They put me in a jail for 2 months.
You look good now. I don't know how. I don't remember. You didn't look that good before. You were in bad shape. How long were you in? How long did they keep you?
3 months. First time 2 months. The second time 1 month. Second time when they arrest me, I have a chapstick in my pocket. And they put me on the wall, like how they do it on the wall, and they're trying to search me everywhere. And they said, "What is this?" I'm like, "Chapstick." "No, don't move. I have to take it out." They take it from my pen. And the guy who was trying to open the chapstick, he thought there was something in there. And he tried to open the chapstick like it's gonna blast. And he asked me, "Do you know how to make bomb?" I'm a simple person. I'm a regular human being. I don't want to be all that stupid stuff. I'm an artist. I want to be rather a dancer, not a bomb maker, you know. And they don't listen to me. They arrest me again. They took me to Broadview. They took me 1 more month in a jail. That was so bad again because I know what I'm going to go through. Same thing.
Okay, so, you know, it's been a long, rocky road for you. So those pictures, you're not going to look like $1 million like you do now. So hopefully the officer will realize that it is you. I had one case where this person looked so bad. He was so thin. He lost so much weight.
I did too.
Yeah. I mean, the food is not the best.
Right.
It's not bad. It's not rotten
worse,
food, but
believe me. I mean, it's nothing. When I went to jail, I had a 34 waist. When I came out from the jail, I have now, was over 30 waist. So I lose 4 inches.
That's a better testimonial than Jenny
yeah,
Craig.
I don't want to try again this.
Okay.
So
we'll do our best. I think it would be utterly ridiculous if they rearrested you, and it would probably be a world record.
Really?
And I'm sure the judge, when she sees you again in shackles, would wondering what's going on. I've been to more jails since 9/11 than I have in my entire career. You know, in the past 10 years, I can count on one hand how many jails I've been to, but since 9/11, I couldn't even tell you how many I've been to. Not just in my home state, but all over the South. Right after 9/11, I've never seen so many of my clients, so many people walking on the streets of Devon Avenue with American flag hats and American flags on T-shirts.
But I know the immigrant communities from those areas are terrified, and there's really been a rush on Canada, especially in the Pakistani community, trying to get out of this country. And I'm really terribly sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that people do not feel safe and secure to be in this country because of fear of what will be next. I'm afraid that this country is starting to become what we say we hate about some other countries.
The mission of Freedom House is to help refugees, people who are fleeing their country for fear of persecution, to help them to get asylum in the United States or to cross over to Canada to apply for asylum there. The Pakistanis encountered that they were being put in detention proceedings because their status had run out or they did not have proper documentation. We've had a lot of people that have wanted to go to Canada and continue to have calls. I mean, this week the phone lines have been worse than ever. So it's just an uprooting of people that in a sense, it's creating refugees. This process is creating refugees.
Specifically, there was a case. This girl, Tuba Mujahid, who was 10 years old, she is mentally compensated and physically, and she was under treatment at Shriners Hospital, and Shriners Hospital sponsored her. What happened in the meanwhile is they lost their status. They applied for it, they were rejected, but they were living here. They didn't wanted to go for registration because they thought that they might be arrested, as soon as the thing was announced. So they actually wanted to go to Canada so they can get permission to stay in Canada, so they are not far from America, and they can bring their child for treatment in future easily. Within a matter of 3 hours, they decided to go to Canada. They left their food on the table. They left their whatever they had in their apartment like that, and they left in a very in a hurry. They showed their IDs to the Canadians, and when they asked them why they are coming, they said that we don't have any status in America, so we want a refugee status in Canada, and we want to have a shelter here. On which they said that they don't have any manpower that day, and they gave them a date, a month's date to come back for interview, and they were sent back into the United States. In United States border immigration post of that region, they actually did their registration. So mother called our program and asked us to help her out. So I did brought that issue on my radio. I wrote I write columns also. I wrote the whole story in my column, and Chicago Tribune picked from there. Chicago Tribune put a front page, full page story on that kid, and from there, mainstream media, they picked it up, and I feel really proud that that family was ultimately allowed by INS to stay.
तो मतलब ये कि सिर्फ मुसलमानों को इस तरह किया जा रहा है और जो हालात हैं मतलब उसमें मुसलमानी
Before this INS registration, she thought of America as a secular country, and all the communities and religions were allowed to enjoy their rights, and there was no discrimination. But this INS registration regulation which was introduced, it has now given her an impression that it is not true anymore.
I don't think they have any other option. I mean, the other option is to go back to their country. There is no other option. I mean, for them right now to stay in the U.S., and some may have chosen to do that, I mean, eventually that's going to be, eventually if they're found, I mean, it's very hard to work anymore without papers. I mean, employers, there's always been employers who, you know, hire people under the table, as we say. And there may continue to be that, but I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to find jobs and to keep jobs, and eventually it's going to mean deportation or returning to their own country. It's, the only option is Canada, and if Canada, as I said earlier, if Canada doesn't allow them to stay, doesn't grant them asylum, it's back home.
My name is Sister Helen Petrimo, and I work here at the Windsor Refugee Office. And the mandate of my office is to help refugee claimants that come to Canada to make an asylum claim. The Pakistani refugee claimants that have arrived here and have made a refugee claim, they talk about their relief at having gotten here before that deadline, and of the degree of stress and fragmentation of families that they have witnessed within their own Pakistani community, and how tragic that is, and how it really drove them in fear to abandon their job, their houses, and their what they thought was security, to just run for the border. Initially they didn't really believe that Canada wasn't going to put their fathers or brothers right in jail. It's foreign to our way of treating refugees and immigrants, and even illegal immigrants. There's more of an understanding of basic human rights, compassion for not splitting up a family, not sending a husband over, deport a husband and leave the rest of the family here. That's not within our value system. So there is a great deal of bewilderment, confusion, not understanding why such an overreaction. And for those who are sympathetic towards refugees, a hope that they do make it here, as many as possible make it here before that deadline.
You know, I'm kind of getting used to it. I hate to admit it. You know, I'm getting used to that look. Even though, you know, I've prepared them the week before, the night before, during the whole day while I'm sitting there with them. At that point, when they look at you, it's like a deer in the road with the headlights coming on. Okay, Luck. Chicago's been very good to my clients the past couple of weeks. They've been understanding. I really get the sense that the investigative officers, they're not happy about what's going on, because they're locking up good people. They're not locking up criminal aliens. They're locking up people that pay taxes, work hard, work in jobs that a lot of Americans don't want. I know my grandfather drove a yellow cab for 25 years. You look at the demographics of the people who drive taxis today, they don't look like my grandfather. Why? There's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons, in my opinion, is because no one wants those jobs. If these immigrants weren't doing these types of jobs, that our economy would be at a standstill. We couldn't function,
Hi, good morning. Marilyn, this is Christopher Helt, Chris Helt. Okay, how are you doing? Just calling to give you the heads up that I guess I have kind of round 2 today. It's the last day that I'm taking my clients. They're here in my office. Some of them are just trickling in. There's about 12 total. Well, today is round 2 of my group that's coming in for special humiliation, better known as special registration. Group 3 registration, where all Pakistani males, non-immigrant males age 16 or over, have to come in and register, be fingerprinted, photographed, asked questions about what their intentions are here, their bank accounts, credit card, all personal information. That information is recorded in a large database. What they'll do with that information, I don't know, but that's what we're doing today. You're not Ismaili, are you? What type of Muslim are you?
I'm a Muslim.
What type? Sunni, Shiite?
Yeah, Sunni.
Sunni, okay. Because there's a holiday coming up next Friday.
Yeah.
For Ismaili. No, for Ismaili.
Ismaili.
Yeah.
You know everything very well.
No, I don't, but I just know that next Friday is a holiday.
Okay.
Like kind of like a New Year's celebration.
Okay.
And I have some clients that don't want to go to be detained on Thursday because the next day is the holiday.
This is genuine case.
I know, but you were out of status when you came to see me. You were already cut.
Yeah,
status cut.
But that is my fault, not fault. I have all papers.
I know it's not your fault. I know it's not your fault.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's next?
Tariq Moti.
I didn't sleep whole night.
Yeah.
At all. I'm not totally against for the registration. That's a very good step. Then, it's good for us also, and it's good for them also. They know where we at, and we can do a lot of things. We are illegal here, but we're trying to be illegal here in a proper way, so.
And that's why they're here today. They're here with the opportunity of getting a green card, a citizenship someday, and they're sacrificing, their short-term liberty, I guess you could say, for a long-term goal of freedom in America.
I've had the same feeling as the first day we took everyone. I've always felt like I'm bringing the lambs to the slaughter.
I think it's important to remember in any large government entity that it's not about the bureaucracy, it's about the people on the street. These kinds of opportunities, frankly, for me, allow me to interact directly and remember that immigration is about individual human beings and human lives.
I cannot sleep properly all night. So I awake 4 o'clock. Hi, you are Christopher?
Yes.
You are hockey man.
It doesn't look like me, but yes, I'm your lawyer. Congratulations. I just came in here. Did everyone else leave? Or did no one else come in? They're celebrating. I have a meeting telephone meeting with the head of the INS, supervisor of the INS police, concerning your case. He's taking personal consideration for your case. He has not made a decision. He wants me to provide evidence to convince him that you should not be placed in deportation proceedings. But he has told me that if I can show him that your visa, the current visa that I filed for you, is approved, then he has no problem.
Yeah.
And he said you should come and talk to him about getting the parole, the 1 year. He said that's the better way than a visitor's visa because your time is going to run out. Whether it runs out next 6 months or now, either way your time is running out.
Yeah.
Like the sand glass is
Yeah,
running out.
yeah. That is
My hourglass is half full, not half empty.
No, my lawyer is called first lawyer. I inform my new address, but he not informed to immigration office.
I explained that to the
Yeah.
INS.
Yeah.
I also told them that we refiled,
Yeah.
and I showed them the application. I said they have not made a decision,
Yeah.
and give him a chance.
Yeah.
And I think he will say, okay, he'll give you a chance. You sure you understand?
Yeah.
I'll give you double explanation.
Okay.
Give him double explanation. It's not a relief. It's more of like they're going through stages of suffering, and the biggest hurdle, the biggest fear is behind them. The jail time is behind them. But of course the fear of deportation is still there, and that doesn't go away. And that'll be with them until their case is completed. Tariq Moti, by the way, was let go today. They didn't place another bond on him. They didn't cancel his current bond and repaper him. He was very happy.
I spent my 3 months in a jail. No one cares. I mean, they can say that, that's all they can say. You was illegal, you are illegal, that's why you're in jail. But, like, they don't see emotion. What I was doing, how I'm doing. They don't ask about, I know they're not concerned about my parents, my family, but my family suffer too, not me. My family, my friends, everyone suffer because of that.
I'm not able to offer to you my personal opinion about it. I'm sure you understand that. I can simply suggest to you that I certainly understand that these procedures and policies are very controversial, that in my view there are a lot of very legitimate questions being asked, but as the current law of this country, they will be implemented at the direction of, to this date, the Department of Justice.
We don't know what's next on the agenda. So now you have these people registered, you know where they live, that you know where they are. Okay, that's all well and good, but people are really concerned about how that information will be used.
Remember that the original USA Patriot Act defined a new crime of quote-unquote domestic terrorism, and they defined it very broadly to encompass any action that endangers human life that is a violation of any federal or state statute. Under the current draft of the proposed Domestic Security Enhancement Act of 2003, which is nicknamed Patriot Act 2, any American citizen, even native-born, who supports unlawful activities of an organization the executive branch deems quote-unquote terrorist, that individual may be presumptively stripped of his or her citizenship. Under Patriot Act 2, federal agents would not need a subpoena to obtain a court order to access our consumer credit reports. Note that they would not have to certify that any person whose information was accessed was suspected of terrorism, or indeed any other crime for that matter. No one would be notified that their records had been accessed. Not only this type of data, but genetic information would also be collected by the government if Patriot Act 2 was passed. DNA would be put into a quote-unquote terrorist identification database. It would contain information not only for proven terrorists, but also quote-unquote suspected terrorists.
We've changed from probable cause to suspicion. I could suspect you. You know, in the past I would have had to say because.
There's a saying that when they came after the communists, I didn't do anything because I was not a communist. When they came after the Jewish, I didn't do anything because I was not a Jew. when they came after the trade unionists, I didn't do anything because I was not a trade unionist. Now they came after me and nobody's there for me because I wasn't there for anyone.
I hope it was something that really did have a long-term goal to help our country curtail terrorist threats and strengthen our national security interests. I hope it just wasn't a ploy to kick as many people out of the country as we could and be ashamed of this later.
घर एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसमें हमको सिर्फ चार दीवार नहीं बल्कि प्यार, शांति और सहारा मिलता है। घर एक ऐसी जगह है जहाँ हमको सिर पर सिर्फ एक छत नहीं बल्कि हमको दुनिया से और हर गम से पनाह मिलता है।
Everybody, 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 everybody looking for a place to call home. 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 Everybody looking for a place to say home. Everybody looking for a place to say
हर कोई एक ऐसी जगह ढूंढता है जहाँ शांति मिलती है। शांति क्या होती है? एक ऐसी चीज़ जिनको जितना भी हम ढूंढें शायद हम नहीं पा सकते, सिर्फ अपने आप से पा सकते हैं। शांति हमारे अंदर होती है, तो फिर हर कोई सिर्फ घर नहीं बल्कि अंदर की शांति भी ढूंढता है।
Everybody looking for a place to call home. Everybody looking for a place to call